random Facebook group. I'm doing market research interviews and I really need your help. Please? If you're trying to run client avatar or market research interviews, but you're struggling to get people to say yes to actually jump on the phone and talk to you, there might be a bit of a problem with the way you're asking for them. In this video, I'm going to share my tips for how to actually book market research interviews and how to actually get people to show up for them. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Melinda Kitto, and every week I share a new video that is chock-a-block full of marketing and messaging tips to help you stand out online and sell your offers with ease. So if that sounds like the kind of help that you need, make sure that you subscribe and hit that bell to be notified when I upload a new video every single week. So let's dive into these tips to book market research interviews that people will actually want to show up to. Tip number 1 is to make it about them, not about you. Without a doubt, the most common approach that I see people taking to try to book these interviews is to jump into Facebook groups that they think are filled with their ideal clients and say something very generic like, "Hey guys, I'm doing some market research and I really need your help." But what can we spot that's immediately wrong with that statement? I'm doing this and I need this. Yep, you've made it all about you. I want you to think for a second about the behavior of the person on the receiving end of that request. They're just sitting there scrolling away at their phone. And when we're in that scroll mode, we are literally scanning our feed, looking for something that is either relevant to us, interesting, or entertaining. If we don't see any of those 3 factors, we just keep scrolling right on by. So the fact that you are doing these interviews and that you need help isn't all that relevant to this person. It's definitely not interesting to them, and it's certainly not entertaining. In other words, you haven't really given them any reason to care. So let's give them a reason to care, right? The key to stopping that scroll and at least catching this person's attention is to position your request for a market research interview as something that is relevant to them. Now, in this video right here, I talk all about how to craft a compelling social media post that sells your offers. And in that video, I go into a whole lot more detail as to how to stop the scroll and really grab your potential buyer's attention. And when it comes to market research interviews, I would actually take a very similar approach. So tip number 2 here is to open your post by speaking to either their current problem or their biggest desire. Ask a question or make a statement that allows this person to think, "Oh, that sounds like me." Here's just a couple of examples. Do you feel like your kids never listen and you end up yelling way more than you'd like to? Or maybe something like, do you wish you could save for that next big family holiday, but you just hate budgeting? Think about something that the right people would be able to say an immediate yes to. If you can get them to say that mental, yes, that sounds like me, then you've at least broken the monotony of that scroll and you've captured their attention. Now remember, you want to get the right people on this call. So it's important here to include details that will either pull in the right people or push away the wrong people. For example, let's say that your work has a spiritual aspect to it. You would only want to actually interview people who are open to and curious to explore their spiritual side. If you were to interview people who are totally closed off to their spiritual side, well, that's going to skew your result and it might leave you feeling like your offer's not going to work. But it's simply because you're talking to the wrong people. So I'll use the example that I shared just a second ago. Do you feel like your kids just won't listen and you end up yelling way more than you want to? You could follow that question up with a statement that gives a little bit more detail. Something like, "You've heard about mindfulness and meditation as a way to actually manage and control your emotions, but you just don't know how to go about doing it." Can you see how that's calling in somebody very specific? They have the type of problem that you help with, and they're curious about the type of solution that you provide. So they're going to be the perfect people to give you feedback about your messaging and your offer. But hang on a minute, Mel. How do I figure out what their current problem or their biggest desire is? Isn't that why I'm doing market research in the first place? Yes, you are doing these market research interviews so that you can get really clear on that ideal client avatar, what's going on for them right now, what they wish they could have instead, and how you might be able to position an offer to help them. So things might be a little unclear for you at this point, and that's totally okay. What that means is that in order to actually attract people to this market research interview, you might have to make some educated guesses. Put yourself into this person's shoes. What do you think they would be struggling with? What do you think they might want instead? Those educated guesses are at least going to attract kind of the right person to your call. And then of course the questions that you ask will help you to build a much clearer picture in your mind as to what's going on for them. Now, I do get some people that get really caught up on this point and they'll tell me things like, "But I just don't know what this person would be struggling with." And my answer to that is, look, if you don't have any kind of insight into what this person might be experiencing, and if you struggle to have any kind of empathy for them and put yourself in their shoes to imagine what they might be going through, then maybe that is not the market that you should be targeting. Capiche? Okay, so now that we've got their attention, we need to make the idea of jumping on a call with us sound like a good thing for them, not something that makes them go, I don't really think I've got time for that. Remember, as lovely as people are, they're not always going to be willing to give you 30 minutes of their time just out of the goodness of their heart, unless they can see that there's something in it for them. So tip number 3 is to make it worth their while. What will they get out of this time on the phone with you? Now, you might choose to offer some kind of incentive in exchange for their time. For example, maybe you want to give away an Amazon gift card or maybe a resource that's going to be really helpful for them. But usually the easiest and the cheapest way to incentivize this interview and make it seem really valuable to them is to actually offer to help them with their problem. You've just called them in by saying, hey, do you struggle with this problem? Doesn't it make sense to try and help them with that? Now, my favorite way to do this is to craft some really juicy bullet points that describe the benefit or the outcome that this person is going to get from joining you on the call. Let's follow that same example again of the parent who feels like they yell too much. You could say something like, join me for this 30-minute call where I'll help you to identify the biggest trigger for your yelling and how to catch it before it reaches boiling point. I'll teach you 2 simple strategies you can use in the moment to keep hold of your emotions, even when your kids are pressing all of your buttons. Can you see how those bullet points are making this call sound really desirable and really valuable for the person that I'm trying to attract? They are going to want to get on this call, right? Because they want those outcomes. Now, here's where we bring it home and make it such an easy yes to get on the phone with you. Tip number 4 is to appeal to their kindness. You've just established desire for them to get onto this call because they feel like they're going to get something out of it. Now, if you introduce the idea that you're doing market research and you need their help, it's going to feel like a total win-win for them. They get to feel like they're doing you a favor, and you appeal to that part of their brain that really wants to be able to help, but you're allowing them to offer you that help in a way that feels like a massive win for them too. Now, if you need some help with the wording for this and how to put this whole invitation together, check out the description of this video because I've put together a little template that you can use and you just tweak it to suit your business. Now, that's totally free. You don't even need to give me your email address in order to be able to use it. All I ask is that you just hit that like button and leave me a comment below to say thanks. That just tells YouTube that this video is worth watching, which is going to help me out a ton. See what I did there? The best part of this whole approach is that you're killing like 5 birds with one stone. Your goal is to collect market research on your ideal client avatar. In doing so, you are going to find and connect with people who are likely to be perfect fit clients. They want the outcome that this call is going to give them, so they're going to be far more likely to actually show up for that call, and you're going to use that time on the phone with them to actually help them with their problem. That gives you a chance to really show off your skills and your expertise, and it's going to position you as somebody that they could really use in their life. And if you're asking questions and getting feedback about an offer that you're trying to put together, naturally you are going to trigger some kind of curiosity and some kind of desire in this person's mind. Now, I never go into a market research interview with the intention of selling anything, but quite often when I'm using this kind of approach, it naturally evolves into a conversation about working together. Because this person has just had a taste of my expertise. They can see how I'm actually able to help them with the problem that they're experiencing, and so they naturally want to know how they can actually get that help. Which means that quite often these market research interviews can actually develop into sales, which makes them a win-win-win, which of course I bloody love. And now, of course, I want to hear from you. So comment below and let me know whether you're going to give this approach a try, or maybe let me know if you've already tried this kind of approach and whether it's been able to land you some awesome client interviews and maybe even some sales. Now, I also want you to hit that notification bell because once you've actually booked these market research interviews, you need to know what questions to be able to ask during those interviews. So in next week's video, I'm going to share the essential questions that you need to ask to make sure that you're collecting valuable and useful information that you can utilize in your marketing to be able to attract those perfect dream fit clients. So make sure that you subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss that video. And in the meantime, if you need some more marketing or messaging tips to help you stand out online, I've linked to a couple of videos right here that can help you with that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Phone. What am I saying? I can't. Spiritual aspect.